Welcome to another deep dive. This time, we're going to try to figure out how to stay informed and sane in a world that's absolutely drowning in information.
It really is a challenge.
Especially with the news cycle these days.
Right.
We've got a really cool mix of sources for this deep dive.
Yeah.
We've got articles about staying informed, we've got some happiness hacks, and even some stuff about lifestyle design.
Interesting.
So how do we stay engaged without letting it, drag us down,
Well, one of our sources, near Eyal, he says, you are what you consume, and consuming junk makes you feel like junk.
Oh, wow.
That's from his article, How to Stay Informed Without Losing Your Mind. So, think about it. How often do you finish catching up on current events and you actually feel good?
You know what? Honestly, not very often.
Right.
More often than not, I find myself just kind of doom scrolling,
Sure.
And I end up totally drained and anxious. It's almost like I'm addicted to negativity.
Oh, yeah. A lot of people feel that way. And Eyal actually points out that too much information can actually make us less informed. And that really resonated with me. We just get overwhelmed and we can't process and retain what really matters.
It's true. It's true.
Yeah.
So what do? Do we just tune it all out?
No, not at all. Eyal suggests a few things, like setting limits on our news intake.
Okay.
Curating trusted sources.
Okay.
And even scheduling dedicated time for reflection. So instead of just reacting to every headline, we can actually be intentional about what we're consuming.
Let's say we need to create a healthy media diet.
Yeah, exactly. Just like with food.
Right.
What you consume, what you take in, it really matters.
Okay, I'm ready to clean up my news diet. But, even when we filter the news, life can still be pretty challenging.
Sure.
So how do we stay happy and resilient? How do we bounce back?
That's a really great question. And another article we're looking at today, it's called New Neuroscience Reveals 3 Secrets That Will Make You Happier. Might have some answers.
Ooh, okay. Tell me, I'm always interested in these little brain hacks.
Right.
What are the secrets?
Well, first, it explains this concept called habituation.
Okay.
Which basically means our brains get used to things, even amazing things.
Yeah.
And the initial excitement fades over time.
Okay.
So think about a fantastic vacation you took years ago.
Okay, yeah.
Probably doesn't spark the same joy now, right?
Yeah, right, yeah.
Because our brains kind of just adjust to the status quo.
That makes sense.
So to be happier, we have to actively combat that habituation.
Oh, okay. I see. So tell me the secrets.
Okay, the first one is called savoring.
Savoring.
Consciously slowing down and appreciating those positive experiences can really make a huge difference.
I like that.
So for example, instead of scrolling through your phone while you're eating,
Guilty.
I
do that all the time.
Yeah, put it away and actually savor your food.
Yeah.
Notice the flavors, notice the textures, really be present.
Yeah, sometimes I don't even remember what I ate because I'm just so distracted.
Right, and that's where savoring can really help. It's about shifting your attention to the present moment and actually amplifying those positive emotions. Okay, are you ready for secret number 2?
Yeah, lay it on me.
It's negative visualization.
And negative what?
Visualization. And I know it sounds counterintuitive.
Wait, hold on. I'm all about positive thinking.
Right.
Isn't focusing on the negative going to, totally backfire?
Well, it seems that way, but the research suggests that briefly considering what could go wrong actually increases our appreciation for what we have.
Yeah.
So, for example, let's say you're really stressed about a work deadline.
Okay, yeah.
Imagine if you were also dealing with a sick family member on top of that.
Oh, wow.
Suddenly, that deadline might not seem so bad, right?
I guess so. Yeah, it kind of puts things in perspective.
Yeah, it's a way to shift your perspective and gain a fresh outlook.
Okay, I can see that.
And the best part is it only takes a few minutes. Okay. Are you ready for secret number 3?
I'm ready.
It's gratitude.
Gratitude.
Actively focusing on the good things in our lives, no matter how small, can shift our focus from what we lack to what we already have.
Okay.
And this actually connects with another article we have by Leo Babauta called Become Happy in the Face of Physical Misery.
Become happy in the face of physical misery.
Yeah.
I mean, is that even possible?
Well, Babauta argues that clinging to expectations, resisting discomfort, and dwelling on these negative narratives, that's what really contributes to misery.
Okay.
He suggests that embracing gratitude can actually lead to peace and joy even during those tough times. And he says, gratitude changes everything. When we appreciate what's in front of us, we no longer need things to be different.
That's a powerful quote.
It is. It really makes you think.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
So basically, shifting our focus to what we're grateful for can totally change our perspective, even when things are tough.
Yeah, and the research actually shows that practicing gratitude rewires our brains to focus on the positive, and that increases our resilience and equips us to deal with life's ups and downs.
So even when the news is like super negative, we can still find moments of joy and train our brains to focus on the good.
Right.
I like that. Do we have any more sources that kind of talk about creating a more fulfilling life?
Yeah, we do. We have an article by Stephen Worley called Top Question About Lifestyle Design that actually connects really well with what we've been talking about.
Ooh, lifestyle design. I like the sound of that.
Yeah.
What does Worley say?
Well, his central argument is that we have way more control over our lives than we realize.
Okay.
But true change requires a mindset shift, and it also requires consistent effort. And he actually claims that lifestyle design takes around 18 months.
18 months. Like, is that a magic number or something?
Well, he explains that breaking old habits, building new ones, and actually rewiring our thinking, that takes time.
Okay.
And he gives us two options. He says, be stressed out for the rest of your life because you are not living and working in alignment with who you are.
Oh.
Or be stressed out for a couple of years building a life you've always wanted. And he thinks that a lot of people choose the first option because they underestimate the effort required for lasting change.
Oh, that's interesting. So it's about playing the long game, really.
Okay.
Understanding that it doesn't happen overnight. But where do we even begin? 18 months just sounds, I don't know, daunting.
Well, he suggests first recognizing that your current life is a result of your choices.
Okay.
And then from there, identify your values, set clear goals, and break those goals down into manageable steps. And then, of course, celebrate those small wins along the way to help maintain motivation.
Yeah, because if you don't celebrate the small wins, it's easy to get discouraged, right?
Exactly. And, this all ties back to staying informed without feeling overwhelmed. Even amidst, the chaos of current events, we have the power to shape our own lives, create positive change, and cultivate happiness.
That's a really good point. It's so easy to just feel helpless when you're bombarded with bad news all the time.
I know.
But ultimately, we choose how we respond and how we shape our own reality.
Absolutely. And this brings us to Nir Eyal's crucial question. If you don't make time to think, you'll always be reacting instead of reflecting.
We need to unpack that one.
Let's unpack that quote. If you don't make time to think, you'll always be reacting instead of reflecting. What's the difference between reacting and reflecting when it comes to the news?
Yeah. What is the difference?
Well, reacting is kind of like impulsive,
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
that knee-jerk emotional response to a shocking headline or a disturbing image.
Right, right.
We share it, we comment on it, we get caught up in the outrage or the anxiety without actually processing the information.
It's like we're just on autopilot, right? Just clicking and sharing without really thinking about it.
Exactly. Reflecting, on the other hand, is a much more mindful approach. We step back from that constant stream of information and we ask critical questions like, what is this news actually telling me? How does it affect me personally? What are the different perspectives?
So instead of being swept away by the emotional current, we're consciously choosing how we engage with the information.
Yeah. And that's really important because when we're constantly reacting, we kind of give up our power. We let the news cycle dictate our emotions and our actions.
You know what? That's so true. When I get caught up in reacting to the news, I feel anxious and overwhelmed.
Right.
But when I actually take the time to reflect, I feel a lot more grounded and empowered to actually do something positive.
Exactly. It's not about ignoring the problems of the world, but it's about finding a way to engage with them constructively. And this is actually where Worley's concept of lifestyle design comes back in.
Oh, okay. How so?
Well, remember how we were talking about that 18-month timeline for lifestyle design?
Yeah.
He emphasizes that true lifestyle design involves aligning our actions with our values and our goals.
Okay.
So if you value staying informed, but you also prioritize your mental health, your approach to news consumption should reflect that.
So it's about finding that balance between staying informed and protecting our mental space.
Exactly. Setting boundaries around news consumption, choosing sources that align with your values, and dedicating time for reflection. All of that helps us actually shape how the news affects us instead of just passively absorbing it.
That's really empowering. We have more control over news consumption than we realize.
Absolutely. And remember, even small changes can make a big impact. Maybe you decide to limit your social media scrolling to 30 minutes a day.
Okay.
Or you choose one really high-quality news source over 5 different sensationalized ones.
Right.
The key is just finding what works for you and then sticking with it.
Consistency is key, just like with any positive habit change. But, the news just feels so inescapable sometimes.
It's true. Disconnecting has become increasingly difficult. And that's why it's more important than ever to be intentional about our news consumption.
Yeah, okay,
Yeah.
I get that.
Yeah.
But how do we do that practically? How do we create those boundaries and reclaim our mental space?
Well, one strategy is to designate specific times for checking the news.
Okay.
So maybe you listen to a news podcast during your commute, or you read a few articles in the evening, and then the rest of the day, you just try to limit your exposure, turn off notifications, close those tempting tabs,
Oh, yeah.
you know, and try to create a dedicated space for news consumption. Maybe it's at your desk, but not in your living room where you relax.
I see what you mean. It's so easy to just constantly refresh your news feed, even when you know it's not good for you.
Right, it's a habit.
Yeah.
But remember, you can break that habit and create a much more mindful approach.
Yeah, that's a good point. Creating a more mindful approach. It's about being present and intentional. Yeah.
Right. Exactly. And remember, this isn't about burying our heads in the sand. It's about finding a sustainable way to stay informed without sacrificing our well-being.
We can't ignore the world, but we can choose how we engage with it.
Exactly. When we approach news consumption with intentionality and awareness, it can actually become a catalyst for positive change.
I love that idea. Instead of feeling overwhelmed and helpless, we can actually use the news to inform our actions and make a difference.
That's the ultimate goal, right? To
Yeah.
be informed and engaged citizens working towards a better future.
Yeah.
And we can't do that if we're constantly depleted and discouraged by the news cycle.
Self-care and mental well-being are essential for effective action.
Absolutely. So as we wrap up this section, I want to encourage you to just reflect on your relationship with the news. Ask yourself, how much of your news consumption is truly serving you, and how much is just adding to your stress and anxiety?
That's a great question for all of us to consider. We've covered a lot of ground today. We talked about filtering the noise, cultivating happiness, finding that balance between staying informed and protecting our mental space. Is there anything else we need to think about before we move on to our final section?
Yes, before concluding this part, I want to touch upon mindful action.
Mindful action.
Yes, it's about taking all that we've learned, about filtering the noise and reflecting on the information and channeling that knowledge into meaningful action.
So it's not enough to just be informed. We actually need to do something with that information.
Exactly. Remember Worley's quote about being stressed for a couple of years, building the life you've always wanted?
Yeah.
Well, that applies to more than just personal goals. It also applies to creating a better world.
So mindful action could look like volunteering for a cause we care about, contacting our elected officials, supporting organizations that are doing good work, or even just having those informed conversations with our friends and family.
Exactly. It's about moving beyond passive consumption and becoming active participants in shaping the world. That's where true empowerment lies.
I love that. We've come full circle. We started out feeling overwhelmed by the news, and now we're feeling empowered to make a difference. We've talked about filtering the noise, cultivating happiness, finding balance, and now mindful action.
That's the journey, isn't it? Navigating the complexities of the world while staying true to our values and striving for a positive impact. So, are you ready to move on to our final segment?
I am.
Okay, in our final segment, we'll explore some practical tips for actually putting all of this into action.
Okay, so we're back, and I'm ready to actually put these ideas into practice.
Good.
I feel energized. I feel like I have a new perspective.
Awesome.
I'm ready to face my news feed.
Well, acknowledging the need for a more mindful approach, that's the first step.
Right.
And now we're going to translate that awareness into action.
Okay.
So let's revisit Nir Eyal's advice about filtering the noise. Quality over quantity. Curate those news sources. Choose reputable outlets that align with your values.
Okay.
And that offer in-depth analysis instead of just those sensationalized headlines.
It's like choosing a nutritious meal over junk food.
Yeah,
Right.
That's exactly.
It might not be as instantly gratifying,
Right.
but it nourishes us in the long run.
Exactly. And just like with a balanced diet, it's okay to, occasionally indulge in a little bit of junk food news.
Right.
But make it a conscious choice, not just a mindless habit.
Okay, so we're being mindful about our news sources. What else?
Setting boundaries is crucial. Decide how much time you're going to dedicate to news consumption each day and stick to it.
Okay.
Maybe it's 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes in the evening, whatever works for you. And then the rest of the time, turn off those notifications, close those tempting tabs, and try to create a dedicated space for news consumption that's separate from your relaxation areas.
I see what you mean. Kind of like out of sight, out of mind.
Exactly. And when you are engaging with the news, practice active listening. Don't just passively absorb the information. Ask yourself questions, consider different perspectives, and engage in thoughtful conversations about what you're learning.
So moving from passive consumption to active engagement.
Yes.
Got it. Okay, what about those happiness hacks that we talked about?
Yeah.
How do we actually incorporate those into our daily lives?
Remember the power of savoring.
Yeah.
Try incorporating that into your everyday experiences. Savor your morning coffee, taste each bite of your meals, appreciate the beauty around you.
Okay.
Really train your brain to focus on the positive and amplify those feel-good moments.
Yeah, making those little moments count can really boost happiness. Okay, what about negative visualization? I gotta be honest, I'm still kind of struggling with that one.
I know, it's a tough one. But remember, it's not about dwelling on the negative. It's about using those brief moments of contrast to enhance your appreciation for what you have.
Okay.
So if you're frustrated about traffic, imagine how much worse it would be if you didn't even have a car.
Right, okay, I see.
It's like a little mental gratitude exercise. It reminds us that things could always be worse.
Okay.
And speaking of gratitude, try incorporating a daily gratitude practice into your routine.
Okay.
Before you go to bed, write down 3 things you're grateful for, no matter how small they seem.
Okay.
Maybe it was a sunny day, or a delicious meal, or a kind gesture from a stranger. Over time, this simple practice can really have a profound impact on your outlook and your happiness.
Gratitude really is such a powerful tool.
It is.
It's a total mindset shift.
Absolutely. And it's free, and it's available to all of us. We just have to remember to practice it.
Okay, so we've talked about our news diet. We've talked about happiness hacks. We talked about mindful action. How do we translate all of this into real-world change? Like, how do we actually make a difference?
Well, start by identifying a cause that you really care about.
Okay.
It could be climate change, social justice, animal welfare, whatever really resonates with you.
Yeah.
And then do some research and find some organizations that are doing good work in that space. And then consider donating your time, your money, your skills, whatever you can offer.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be some grand gesture.
Not at all.
It can be something small,
Absolutely.
like signing a petition or attending a local event or sharing information on social media.
Exactly. Even those small actions, they all contribute to positive change. And the most important thing is that you're acting in alignment with your values and your passions. That's where true fulfillment comes from.
Well, this has been an incredible deep dive.
I'm glad you enjoyed it.
I feel like I have so many new tools to navigate the news and to create like a more positive and a more meaningful life.
Awesome. And remember, you're not alone in this journey. We're all navigating these challenges together. And by supporting each other, sharing our experiences, and taking that mindful action, we can create a more informed, a more compassionate, and a more engaged world.
I like that. As we wrap up, I want to leave our listeners with one final thought. Remember Eyal's quote, "If you don't make time to think, you'll always be reacting instead of reflecting." So take some time to reflect on your relationship with the news. What changes can you make to create a more balanced, a more informed, and a more fulfilling experience? Even small steps can lead to big changes over time. So stay curious, stay engaged, and stay hopeful. The world needs your unique voice and your positive contributions. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive, and we'll see you next time.